What is up, everybody? It is Thursday, November 17th, and this is the Casual Wrestling Daily Show, the daily pro wrestling news live show on YouTube, where we discuss everything that is going on in the world of WWE and AEW. If you enjoy this content and you are feeling a little bit oozy, you are welcome to go ahead and click the link in the description of this video to donate a couple of dollars. If not, that's okay. Just sit back and enjoy the next 15 to 20 minutes of pro wrestling talk. As always, if you don't know, now you know, I am the Notorious Nerdy D, aka the voice of the casual wrestling community and host of the Casual Wrestling Community channel here on YouTube. Remember, we are on patreon.com/the casual wrestling show. It is free to follow. That is where we will post all the channel and community updates. So make sure to please go to Patreon and join up so you can stay up to date with everything that is going on this channel. Housekeeping, next week is Thanksgiving break. The shows will be pre-recorded and not live. So just look out for that. They'll still post around 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, but they won't be live. I won't be live on YouTube next week, and then the following week we will go back to our regularly scheduled program. WWE in Review dropped yesterday, so there's a new episode of that. Go check it out. We reviewed Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, and I have to say, I missed out. I definitely missed out on that match in my life. It was during a point in time in my life where I wasn't watching wrestling, and for some reason I never went back and watched it, but that was a good one. That was definitely one worth watching. So make sure to drop us more matches that we should be watching. We need more suggestions. I need more ideas on the matches that I should be watching for WWE in Review. Shout out to this week's Patreon producers. This week's shows are brought to you by It's Zenny, LGRSM, and Redis JC. We appreciate your support, guys. And without further ado, let's jump into the top 5 things I think you guys need to know about pro wrestling today. So let's start off by talking about MJF cut a promo for the crowd at Total Mortgage Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut after Dynamite went off the air yesterday. MJF slightly broke character to praise Tony Khan, who was standing next to him in the ring, when MJF proclaimed his love for WWE as well. This shit is not bullshit, or this shit is not ballet. Every time we get in this ring, we are risking our lives. Do you people understand that? We don't take that lightly. And what I damn should never take lightly is somebody coming into my company, dropping their trousers and taking a dump. That shit ain't happening anymore, because this is the place, and the only reason is it's here is because Tony Khan. Without AEW, professional wrestling is a monopoly. And don't get me wrong, I do love WWE. Trust me, I love WWE. However, hear me out. Your favorite wrestlers don't get paid properly and don't eat properly unless Tony Khan makes this an alternative. This is genius. I mean, this is hedging your bet on all sides. This is coming out and telling the boss, I appreciate you, giving him his flowers, letting everybody kind of stand there in admiration. And the story going forward will be MJF loves Tony Khan, he loves AEW. But the other side of that story is, y'all see what MJF is doing here, right? MJF is just laying the groundwork right now for the biggest professional payday in pro wrestling for somebody of his stature and somebody of his work level. He by coming out and making sure that WWE felt love too and AEW felt love too, he's just playing both sides. He's leveraging, he's ready for the bidding war of 2024. He's bolstering just beautiful comments to the current boss, compliments, feeding the ego of Tony Khan, all while saying, I love WWE. I'm not telling you guys that I'm here and I'm staying. I love WWE as well. We are in, guys. We are in for a wild 2024. Because I truly don't believe that MJF has signed an extension with AEW. I believe if he did, that they would book him a little differently. He would talk a little differently. And you would have to believe that he went on Ariel Helwani and just straight up lied to him when he told him, I renegotiated my contract, but I did not sign an extension in time. I literally think MJF knows how big of a deal he is going to be, and that both sides are going to be extremely interesting, and that will skyrocket his ability to make money. Why would you re-sign terms with AEW and sign for more time without at least giving WWE opportunity to drive that price way up, right? It's a precarious situation here for Tony Khan. Because we have to assume right now, all people are pointing to the fact that at Full Gear, it's time to put the strap on MJF. MJF's your champion, and he will probably carry it for a while. And 2023 is going to be a big year for MJF if he holds that belt at least 50% of the year, which I think he fully can. And if the AEW ratings go up while MJF is champion, which I assume they're going to, because I think he is a more casual wrestling friendly champion, I think more people will tune in for MJF just because of the newness, the excitement, to see what he has to say week in and week out. It will be similar to the run of CM Punk during 2011, the summer of Punk and all those things, where he may not be the biggest star in AEW, but he might be the most interesting star in AEW. And if those ratings go up, like I said, which I assume they will, he kind of grabs AEW and Tony Khan by the balls. Because at that point, if he has a huge 2023, you can't let him walk out of the company, right? By the end of 2023, if their ratings are up and he looks like the franchise player, you can't let him walk out of the company. But hold on a minute. Because you don't think that going into that bidding war, that WWE's not going to have something to say, that WWE's not going to make a play for MJF, if for no other reason than to just drive the price up on Tony Khan, right? You could bet your ass right now that Fox and NBC have had conversations with WWF, watching the old in review, with WWE, and telling them, basically, you need to be in play for this guy. This guy is money. This guy is television ratings, and we need to go all in on this guy. And here's bold prediction time from me. Bold prediction time from Notorious Nerdy D. If it's January of 2024, WWE is going to step up to the negotiating table, and they're going to lay it out like this. They're going to tell MJF, we have an opportunity for you at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. That means you immediately come over to this side. You come over to this company, and we immediately have a championship opportunity for you in the main event of WrestleMania 40. The story's written. We know exactly what we're going to do with you from Royal Rumble. You'll surprise entrant at Royal Rumble. You'll main event WrestleMania. You'll win the title, and you'll begin your WWE career basically with a rocket attached to your ass. Maybe we'll put you in a match with someone like Kevin Owens, someone that you guys will blow the building off of the roof. But that prediction time that's what WWE is bringing to the table. And that may not mean as much right now, but deep down inside, I think there's a WWE dream that lives inside of MJF. It's deep, it's very deep in there, and it's hidden kind of around the corner from the part of MJF that wants the money and the admiration. But deep down in there's a little kid that exists that still knows that's the top of the mountain. You don't get higher than that. You could be the biggest thing in AEW, and you're still not the WWE WrestleMania main event. And unless Tony Khan steps up at that point in January and goes, we're just going to back the truck up. Just while you name the number, you tell me how much money you want. We're going to go dip into Daddy's Jaguar fund. We're going to go dip into the Jacksonville Jaguar money fund. We're going to back up this truck for you. And whatever it takes to keep you from going to WWE, you name that number, we back that truck up. And I still don't know if that's enough to stop that dream that lives inside a little boy MJF that says, I want a main event WrestleMania. I think Tony Khan is going to have to pay MJF north of $10 million a year to keep him in AEW, and that's astronomical, guys. Jon Moxley, the guy who's basically carrying the company most of the time, makes about $6 million a year. These are alleged contract numbers that I found online. Roman Reigns is making about $10 million a year. I think that if this all goes to plan, if MJF has a solid run in 2023, 10 million's the number. The Roman Reigns is the mark for MJF. That's the number he's going to be looking at. I don't think he gets the Brock Lesnar, John Cena legacy numbers of like where you hear these contracts that are north of $10 million a year. But I think he gets placed into that $10 million range, which places him in the top level of professional wrestling stars. I think AEW offers him 10. I think WWE may come in and offer him 7 to 8 million. To place him kind of in line with what's going on. That's like a Seth Rollins type number. They pay him $7 to $8 million. Unless Fox kind of doubles down and says, go all in, offer the 10, get this guy on our roster. But I think they offer slightly less, like 8 million, but they also say, we have a roadmap laid out for you that looks phenomenal. And the problem is coming out of 2023. If he drops that title, maybe he keeps it all year. Maybe they go with a long title run. But if he drops that title, he's got to imagine that he doesn't stay in the front of the line for another AEW title run. So this is a precarious situation for Tony Khan because WWE can offer a new shiny belt, a new opportunity to headline WrestleMania, a lot of money and a lot of new talent to work with in a very professional atmosphere. I'm telling you guys, you have to pay attention. There's a real possibility that MJF can end up that, like, I can lay out a roadmap. I can make solid arguments for the fact that MJF will end up in WWE in 2024. I think that it just all signs point to it for me. And a lot of people will hang on. Like, a lot of people are going to hang on to how well he carries the AEW belt, but I don't know how much that matters. I think that just builds his stock. But Tony Khan it's going to take an astronomical, it has to be a number that MJF goes, I'd be stupid not to take this money. That's the difference the contracts have to be. I mean, it's got to be probably $3 or $4 million more than what WWE offers, because WWE offers opportunity outside of wrestling as well. So you have to factor all of that into when somebody's making a decision on their contract. Also in the news, let's talk about, it was announced last night that the Elite will make their return to AEW and battle Death Triangle for the Trios Championships. The Elite became the inaugural Trios Champions at All Out by defeating Death Triangle. Then CM Punk and the Elite were stripped of the AEW World Championship and Trios Championships following their brawl at the All Out Media Scrum. So the Elite will return to take on Death Triangle in a title match. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Who's surprised? Who's really surprised, right? The Elite have come back and put themselves in a title match. Does somebody want to explain the difference to me in being punished and being suspended and just going on vacation? Could you explain that to me as well as explain that to Tony Khan? Because I'm not sure that he understands what punishment and suspension is. Let's not reward anybody who towed the company line the whole time the Bucks were doing their Mean Girls act and they got suspended and they're gone. There's teams, there's people who have fought week in and week out on AEW television. Let's not reward them with some title opportunity. Let's give it to the Elite because they need to pick up right where they left off. Nobody smells the problem here. Tony Khan, I don't get it. I don't understand. He is part of an NFL franchise, but I guess the franchise has had problems as well with personnel, coaches, players, and stuff like that. So maybe they just don't understand chemistry. But I don't get it. Is there just, do you not see, Tony? Do you not see just a little bit of entitlement here? Just a slight bit of entitlement. I mean, at this point, is it going to shock anybody if they actually book themselves to come back and win the titles day one off of suspension so they can just pick up where they left off when they were suspended? Would that really surprise anybody? I'm hoping that they have a little bit of humility and a little bit of humbleness left, that they don't book themselves to just squash the Death Triangle. But I think, when you see this, you go, it's probably not, right? Probably they will book themselves to win the title. So you're telling me during their suspension, what we're calling a suspension, what we're calling a punishment, The things Kenny Omega got to do is he went to Gamescom in Tokyo with Capcom and did all this. He got to do all this video game stuff, got to work on the video game, got to do so. He stayed busy. Then he filmed content for an AEW reality TV series, which obviously he's probably getting paid for. And he was spotted at Universal Studios and out just kind of living the life. And that's a suspension. That's a vacation. That's a couple weeks off. And yeah, I get like they'd rather be wrestling. But like you have CM Punk, whose whole life gets kind of uprooted and dislodged, and he's here fighting court battles that he's probably going to win and make a lot of money. So I don't feel sorry for CM Punk. But you can't tell me that no matter how you view the situation, if you think CM Punk is wrong, if you think the Elite are wrong, if you think Tony Khan is wrong, everybody has a part to play in the blame game. Right? And when then you look at how the punishments were distributed, you go, oh, one guy clearly got shit on. The other guys took an extended vacation. Maybe there is a little bit of a problem. I mean, maybe there is a problem in having executive vice presidents that are currently wrestling in your company because there's absolutely no way to punish them. You take them off television, they have other responsibilities they have to tend to anyway, so it's not a big deal. And what message does this send your locker room? I thought Tony Khan was trying to clean up some of the bullshit, and I said, I know you have to bring the Elite back. They're too high level of performers to not bring them back. But you don't have to bring them back and immediately insert them into a title picture. There should be some punishment. They should have to go to the back of the line. Just a little bit of humility. It's a nice thing. But I'm going to say something here, and I think this is a strong possibility. I think that the Elite's punishment may not come from AEW, and it may not come from Tony Khan. There is a chance that at Full Gear, the crowd will punish the Elite, and not with boos or cheers, but I think all it takes is one of those random CM Punk fans to get a CM Punk chant going, and if that building erupts with a CM Punk chant during the Elite's match, I think Tony Khan's got to start sweating. I think Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks have to start sweating, because if the fans are willing to still side with CM Punk after all that shit that happened, it shows you that maybe the value of the Elite, and not even the value, but the entitlement, the kind of sense of entitlement that they have, is causing a rift between the AEW fans and the company itself. What is the reception that the Bucks are going to get when they come out? I mean, last night when they popped the graphic, it wasn't roof shattering. It didn't feel like that. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, the guys are coming back, but it wasn't like this overwhelming, like, oh, thank God they're back, from an audience that, like, the AEW audience tends to overreact to everything, and they were just kind of like, meh, cool, they're back. I mean, there's nothing like a title match at your pay-per-view with absolutely zero buildup and zero story. That's the type of shit that gets your fans fired up, right? Just, hey, they're back. They were, everybody knows the elephant in the room is they were suspended, but they get to pick up right where they left off. I just think, I really think that this Full Gear card is in trouble. And I think it's Tony Khan's fault I think he's out of touch with what the real world actually wants to see. And I think it's just fan service for, like, those IWC that are just screaming on Twitter. There's somewhere on the internet, I don't know where it is, Tony Khan is a part of a fan group, and I think he's just sitting there reading what they're saying with those eyes. He's just reading what they're saying and going, I gotta do, they want that. They want the Elite back, I gotta give them the Elite back. That's what it feels like to me, is he's just answering fan service. Let's talk about an article that came out with Baron Corbin that said Baron Corbin has been part of the WWE for 10 years now, and he has constantly excelled at any role he was given. In fact, Corbin is a true homegrown talent in WWE, and he doesn't really care if someone was an indie wrestler before coming to WWE. While speaking on the bump, Baron Corbin talked about his time in WWE so far. Corbin then explained why coming from the independent circuit isn't really an accomplishment in WWE. Quote, a lot of these guys, it's a bragging right. I've been wrestling for 15 years. Why is that a bragging right? Like, I made a phone call and the WWE brought me in for a tryout and signed me within the first week. That's how it works. I don't need to work for a hot dog and popcorn in a local gymnasium. That's not what I do. It's not a bragging right for me. That's not something you brag about. These guys come in and that's part of their story, and it gives hope to the people sitting in the audience. Where's the lie? Read that quote. Break that quote down, and we'll break it down here in a second. But just take a second, break that quote down. Where's the lie? Like, where is the lie? This is the battle that I fight on the daily front of being a casual wrestling fan. This mentality is what separates casual wrestling fans from the IWC hardcore who gatekeep and think that like this, you have to have watched every wrestling company. You have to have watched wrestling your whole life. You have to have wrestled in gymnasiums, right? It's the same. The IWC and this indie wrestler mentality, it all combines. It's all one thing. And I have two big sticking points when I talk about professional wrestling. It's two big things that I talk about that people tell me are dated ideas that I still believe to reign true. Number one, talk about this all the time. I believe size still matters in professional wrestling. Even more so going back and watching The Rock and Hulk Hogan than watching Roman Reigns. Size matters. Main events need size. Monsters. People that are larger than life. You have to have it. Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman. You can't teach size. You can't take a guy in the gymnasium and make him taller. It's just a fact. My second big sticking point is that I don't believe you have to have had involvement in wrestling, be it a fan or be it a indie wrestler, and been part of these gymnasiums, been part of this indie tier of wrestling. I don't think you need to have been a part of that to understand or become a great pro wrestler. Wrestling is literally one of the only professional sports where it is beloved by a group of fans to have to go through this like amateur grungy ranks. And I get like it's necessary in boxing because you get your ass whipped unless you're named Jake Paul. but in professional wrestling, like fans kind of adore the fact that this guy has put in his work to get to the top. Whereas in like pro football or pro basketball, you're not like, I like that guy better because he grinded it out in the Canadian Football League. It's just, it's not, that doesn't happen. That's an overhyped statistic of professional wrestling that the IWC has tried to make trendy and cool. It's a hipster's mentality. And maybe the separation between me and the IWC is that I come from a high-level sports background, right? I played college basketball. At the peak of my athletic performance and abilities, I am 100% sure I could have transitioned into something like professional wrestling. I just had no interest. There was never interest there, right? It was never like, that was something I enjoyed being a spectator of. But when I was at my peak physical form, I see the guys that are in these gymnasiums and I'm like, I could have done what they do easily. But I've always embraced wrestling from a spectator's interest. And that's why I think I'm able to see wrestling in a different light than some of these IWC fans who get so overwhelmed with the people who look like them and give them hope and give them this ability to think I could be a wrestler too. Because let's really break down this quote here from Baron Corbin. A lot of these guys, it's a bragging right. They've been wrestling for 15 years. Why is that a bragging right? If you haven't been wrestling for 15 years at the highest level, and at the highest level, I'm going to call it AEW or WWE. New Japan Pro, I guess you could throw in there. But when I talk about professional wrestling as if it was a professional sport, AEW and WWE are the big leagues, right? So obviously you could be an indie guy and you can wrestle for $45,000 a year, which is generous. And you put wear and tear on your body, do it for 15 years, and you can assume you're better than the professional athlete who calls up and gets the tryout, even though they've taken care of their body for the last 10 years by doing things in college and in high school and toning their body and tuning it to be an athletic machine, right? Especially with the WWE Performance Center these days and WWE training wrestlers to the style of wrestling they want. Like, this mentality doesn't make sense to me. The second part of this quote, and I think this is far more important, is the part where Baron Corbin talks about the IWC basically and how they gravitate to wrestlers that give them hope, that look like them. Because I hear at least 10 people a day on social media say that they're going to start their professional wrestling training journey. Half of them over the age of 30, which is insane. Most of them 5'10" with no athletic background. And they just assume because they see the guys in AEW and the indies do it, that's convinced them that size doesn't really matter. I can just start training and I'll become a professional wrestler. It discounts what all these people do. And more power to those people. You can do anything you want, but like let's be real realistic. Most people aren't cut from a cloth that they're gonna survive that kind of training and that kind of lifestyle. Most people will quit within the first year. And most people, especially the IWC fans, don't understand. Like they have no clue. I'd say most average people don't understand the schedule of like a Division I athlete. You know, I don't want to use the word failed pro athlete because you didn't fail if you became a pro athlete. But maybe like people don't understand the schedule of a pro athlete who didn't have the talent level to stay involved, like Baron Corbin or Brock Lesnar. Or The Rock, guys who made it into professional football, but they didn't have the staying power. They just didn't have that one thing, but they're still some of the highest level athletes that exist. College athletics and college athletes, they live in the sport they play. That means that they diet differently. They hit the weight room, they condition, they have to go to classes, study halls. There literally is not a free moment to spare. When I played college basketball, my schedule was literally wake up at 5 a.m., run 3 miles down the beach, hit the weight room, talk to the strength coaches, go to class, team practice, more classes, individual workout sessions with coaches, study hall, then do it all again the next day. There's a discipline that you get in that you don't get wrestling in gymnasiums. And it's not talked about, right? There's a professionalism you get from doing that. And you don't get that in gymnasiums. It's a different cut of person that comes out of these sports. And the fact that certain people look down on them is insane. Look at Logan Paul. Logan Paul's just out here outworking these indie cats. That's what he's doing. He's doing it his way. He doesn't need to go into a gymnasium. He doesn't need to take those lumps and put those bumps on his body. All he's doing and going, I get it. I get the psychology of this thing. I can charisma everybody. I can work on enough to sell myself as a wrestler. And I can put myself over in other ventures that I've come from, and I can be extremely professional to where the people in the company enjoy being around me. I can't tell you guys how many messages I get, and I get a ton of messages from people who are either wrestlers, some names that you would probably know, but I'm not going to say them. I get a ton of messages from people who have, quote unquote, been in the business, is what they tell me. And these people tell me that I can't possibly know what I'm talking about because I've never been in the business, so I need to shut up. But like, what they don't understand is being in the business and never reaching the top level. I don't view that as success. I don't think you have better insight into what I'm talking about when I talk about pro wrestling. You don't understand the entertainment any better than I do. Maybe you understand the flippy flips and the X's and O's, but you don't understand the business. And I saw a quote. I saw someone say, that guy's a wrestler. All he needs to do is wrestle. That's not what professional wrestling is. Like the name is so misguiding because professional wrestling is an entertainment business that just so happens to call itself wrestling. And the truth is, it's a business that lends itself to multiple different ways to get to the top. So I appreciate Baron Corbin actually having the balls to come out and say some of these things, because I do think that there is this IWC opinion that guys like Corbin or Roman Reigns, these guys that were ex-professional athletes or college athletes, or the fact that like WWE recruits out of Division I colleges, like the IWC likes to shit on that idea, but why can't there just be harmony? You don't see the athletes coming out and saying, we're better than the guys who performed in gymnasiums. It's just different paths to get to the same place. In other news here, AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker took multiple shots at the former WWE star Saraya in both interviews and on social media this week. It started with things on the Busted Open radio show in which she said Saraya made things personal with comments that she made in her promo last week. Quote, Saraya was one of my favorite wrestlers. She doesn't need to tell me everything she's done and what she's gone through because I already know. That's why I'm so looking forward to this match, because this is a girl who was one of my role models. But then when you tell me to my face that I don't have what it takes to be a star, I mean, that's something. When someone you look up to tells you you don't have what it takes to be a star, that ignites a different kind of flame in you. And I've said 100 times, this is now personal. Baker also said, that definitely motivated me because she ripped me apart. I mean, she literally ripped me to shreds. So I was kind of in shock for a second. It was very surreal hearing everything she was saying to me, and even everything that she went through. It was very real and raw. Her digs at me aside, I like this girl as a real life role model. Everything she went through, everything she's overcome, and now she's standing in the ring wrestling against the top girl in AEW. Hats off to her. Then she went on to say, this is my house. The fans know it. This is my house. I think she has her hardcore group of fans. I agree with that 100%. I mean, this girl is a star. There are probably people that don't even watch wrestling that have watched her family movies and want to watch this because they're just a fan of her and her story. Exactly. She's a worldwide star, and I can't take that away from her. Actually, I would like to be what she is one day, but when it comes to AEW, this is my house. You can't come into my house and tell me that you laid the foundation down when you didn't lay a single brick, she added. Britt Baker then proceeded to take shots on social media. Saraya posted a picture of her brother who was going with her to Dynamite, and Britt Baker responded, bring your talentless brother to work week. I mean, I'm going to give props here to AEW, and more importantly to Saraya and Britt Baker. One thing that I don't know when I'm watching AEW, I don't know how much of this shit is real and how much they're working me extremely well. If this doesn't work, shout out to these girls, because I'm here thinking these two ladies hate each other. With all the backstage shit that happens, with all the fights and arguments and shit that goes down in AEW, it's hard for me to decipher what is a shoot and what is real, or what is a work in AEW programming. These AEW like rap battles, because it's what they are, right? They get in the ring and they just rap battle. The rap battle style promos, they're not written down. It's basically who can hurt whose feelings, and they take shots at each other. And sometimes the shots tend to bleed more into not the character that they're playing in the ring, but the shots end up kind of ringing past that and hitting the actual human being that is holding the microphone. It's weird. It's really weird when it comes to AEW. Now, I thought that Britt Baker's stuff about it not being Saraya's house, I thought that was good. And I'll agree with Britt Baker that Saraya did go for the jugular. She did try to cut deep. I think she immediately, but we've seen now twice that when Saraya's backed into a corner, she's immediately just going to start kind of getting dirty. She took shots at WWE when those weren't necessary. And then she took shots at Britt Baker, which, once again, I'm going to refer to this as I think it's a shoot, because that's the way I'm viewing it. If it's a work, shout out to these girls. But I thought Britt Baker's stuff about it not being Saraya's house was good. I don't think that's dirty. I think those are solid, just promo shots. I think now Britt Baker has kind of opened up a little bit, and she went on, the Busted Open radio and social media, and she's kind of stepped it up. She's kind of taken a little deeper. This is making this match extremely interesting for me for multiple reasons. The shot on her brother, good shot. I think that's funny. I think he tends to take things a little personal, so that probably rubbed the wrong way. But I like both of these competitors. I'm a big Britt Baker fan. I think I've stated that numerous times. I'm a defender of Britt Baker, that I think that on the microphone, she's one of the best. I think as far as marketing her matches, she's one of the best. As far as wrestling skill goes, I don't think that she's missing enough. The way the AEW fans talk about her and her lack of wrestling skills, I don't have that same opinion. The other reason that I'm very intrigued in this match is the fucking circus. Like there's a whole circus surrounding this thing from, reporting earlier on the PTSD comments and the don't attack me from behind. That shit is crazy. Like that this is all going down in this match. This has all been said out loud and this is public knowledge. And also Saraya coming out and saying that after this match, she's going on full social media hiatus because she's nervous about what people will say. That scares me too, because that means you don't have a ton of confidence in yourself going into this pay-per-view. Then she went on to say that she's nervous about the first bump she's going to take at the pay-per-view. Like all of these things. Here's a crazy thought. And this is just a thought I had last night when I was putting together this article. If she just recently got cleared, and I'm assuming she did, I'm assuming she hasn't known this for a long time, because it feels like with the things Tony Khan said and the things she said that like she signed with AEW not knowing if she was clear or not. So if she just got cleared, does that mean that she literally has not done any work in a ring for like the past 6 years at all? Is she just literally going to jump right in to a pay-per-view event with probably the biggest name on the AEW women's roster? And they're just throwing her to the wolves like that? That's insane to me. What is the best case scenario that comes out of this? We get a 10-minute match. We're probably going to get a 10-minute match. It's going to feature tons of blood, right? There's going to be blood everywhere. Saraya is going to probably be bleeding. Britt Baker's going to be bleeding. I think Saraya is going to take a couple of cautious bumps to make sure she can handle it. And then there's probably some quirky finish. And that's what this match is going to be. So while I get my hopes up, I don't know that there's a lot there, and why there shouldn't be a lot there. If you're just throwing her to the wolves after not doing this for a long time, that's fucking insane. Last story of the day is speaking on his Impulsive podcast, the YouTube star revealed, this is Logan Paul, the YouTube star Logan Paul revealed that he had already texted Triple H in a bid to make a monster match happen. Paul said that facing John Cena would be a dream matchup that would break the internet. Quote, after the Crown Jewel event, John Cena posted a tweet about me or an Instagram post about me. And then I saw an article saying he's looking for an opponent at WrestleMania. I favorited it. I responded with the eyes emoji. I mean, truthfully, I think me versus John Cena would break the internet. I texted Triple H right away. Do you want me to break the internet again? That's a dream matchup, dude. At WrestleMania in LA on my birthday, Triple H, throw me a bone, give me a birthday present, let me take out John Cena. That would be crazy. Quoting, I think that's the model I'm going to pitch to WWE. To give you an insight into our meetings look like, he said, this week we're meeting with them. I'm just going to be like, hey, this works for me. Put me up against the best y'all have. I'm going to deliver. You know that for a fact. Not only going to put on an amazing match, but I'm going to put asses in the seats and eyeballs glued onto your televisions. I got to admit, guys, I've developed a bit of an infatuation with one Logan Paul in his wrestling career. He knows what he's doing, and he's doing it his way. I was the first person to question after the first two matches, how long could he just show up? Just show up at live, just show up at these big events before WWE and the WWE universe kind of goes, all right, man, kid, you got to show up and you're going to have to do some of the work. But after the way he talks and the way he handles these things on his podcast, I think he can do this as long as he wants. I think that this formula is actually going to work for him because he's selling the matches on his side. It's probably more valuable for WWE. Anybody who's watching Monday Night Raw is watching Monday Night Raw. They're a fan. But Logan Paul's going on his podcast and selling these matches to his audience who may not be wrestling fans. And so he's feeding it to these people who may not have any clue, and they're going, well, Logan enjoys this. Maybe we enjoy this. I think, you look at his boys, his Impulsive boys, Mike and George. If you hear them talk, they kind of thought wrestling was goofy. I think they're loving it now. I think anybody who gets sucked into the world of professional wrestling quickly understands that every misconception you had is wrong, and wrestling is a ton of fun. But here lies the dilemma, right? Cena is supposed to be Theory's snack, right? They're feeding that. That was the plan all along. That's where we've always been headed. That's what everybody's talked about, right? That's why Theory got serious, was because it was leading to this, a big showdown with John Cena. It's the reason that he could cash in and lose the United States title opportunity, because there was a redemption story that lied at the end of this, and that was Mount Cena. And yet now we're forced to look at what's the bigger ticket match. And let's be honest here. Let's be real honest. Wrestling fans, we like melodies that get finished, right? It's musical terms, but like melodies should be completed. It pleases your brain and your ears. So this melody of John Cena and Austin Theory that's been teased to us a couple times, I think we'd like to see that melody finished, but let's be honest, wrestling fans, what's the bigger ticket pusher? It's John Cena, Logan Paul, right? Like that's the match to make. And I know I've seen people talk about John Cena, Stone Cold. I don't have the infatuation with that match. I think that's going to be a bad match. I don't like maybe on paper it makes sense, but I think that you get into the ring and that's going to feel a lot like when Cena fought The Undertaker. Just kind of fan service, right? And I suppose there's a way that you could work maybe Theory and Logan into a triple threat match of some kind with John Cena. But I still think just straight up the posters of once again, Logan Paul versus John Cena all over Hollywood. Just imagine those posters on the side of buildings for one night only. That sells tickets. That gets people excited. That brings in that whole new group of fans again. And I think if Logan goes over, then the sky is the limit for Logan Paul. You can use him pretty much anywhere. Theory has an uphill battle. I mean, it's going to be, I've talked about this. There's an uphill battle now that Theory has to defend. He's going to have to convince Triple H. He's going to have to convince the casual fans that he means enough, you know, that he warrants this spot, because just growing a beard and acting a little bit grumpy, that's not going to last long. I know you guys are excited about it, but that doesn't have staying power unless now Theory's characters 100% become reliant on winning matches. That's what it is. When you're a douchebag and you carry a cell phone, you don't have to win. You can be booked in a losing position and the crowd still hates you and you're still getting over. Once they push you to that dark side where you grow the beard and you get grumpy, Theory's character is only based on winning matches. If Theory loses matches, it's all for nothing. So now they've booked themselves with Theory. So Theory has to convince casual wrestling fans why he matters when he just kind of looks like everybody else now. And I did see that Jake Paul confirmed that Logan didn't have an ACL tear. It was just an MCL tear and a meniscus issue. So that's like 4 to 8 weeks recovery time. Logan Paul could be in the Royal Rumble. High probability Logan Paul's in the Royal Rumble. And what if Logan Paul comes out and eliminates John Cena? There's your story starter, right? I'm better than you. I'm better than this, you old man. I've taken your spot. Here's an interesting fact, though, that I wrote down. John Cena has not been in a legitimate WrestleMania match since WrestleMania 31. I tell you guys, you guys are so excited for him to come back, but he has not been in a legitimate WrestleMania match since WrestleMania 31 against Rusev. 32, he came out to help The Rock with the Wyatts. 33, he was in a mixed tag team match with Nikki Bella. 34 was a match, but he was squashed by The Undertaker. 35, he had a segment with Elias. 36 was the pre-recorded Firefly Funhouse match. And he wasn't part of 37 or 38. So I think if you're trying to move tickets, I don't think it's Theory Cena. I don't think that makes sense anymore. I think you go Logan Paul, John Cena, and I think that's your ticket seller. I think that's your poster. I think that is, you want it to be Hollywood. You want it to be Hollywood. You have a card with The Rock and Roman Reigns. You have a card that has Stone Cold and somebody on it. And you have a card that has Logan Paul versus John Cena. It doesn't get more Hollywood than that. That is all the time that I have today for the Casual Wrestling Daily Show. We will pick up where we left off with the news show next Monday, but tomorrow will be the Casual Wrestling Podcast live on YouTube at 1 p.m. Make sure to tune in for that. Make sure to check out the video I posted yesterday, the WWE in review of The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Please start suggesting other matches for me to watch. I need to develop a list, because I had started a list, but then it's not fun going back and watching the matches that I know I like. I'd rather, like, based on this one match, I want to go 100% off your guys' brains, because that first one was a fucking banger. And I imagine that there's a big gap in my wrestling watching history that I need to fill up. And I'm going to rely on you guys to fill in that gap for me. So go back, check that video out. They're short. They're like 8 or 9 minute videos. Drop a fucking comment on it just to help it. And then drop the comment in the video, the match you want me to watch. That way I can get a list going and it'll be easier to record that show. But as always, I am the Notorious Nerdy D, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Step in the ring, if you ready, let's go. Hey, casual wrestling community show. You already know, talking WWE. Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Don't be sure that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit him with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like the show, but you should